Okay, let's talk about something that's probably happened to a lot of you. You trust someone with your stuff, right? And then they damage it or they lose it. So what are your options really? What can you actually do about it? Well, today we're going to dive right into your legal options.
I mean, just imagine this for a second. You drop off your best suit at the dry cleaners, and it comes back ruined. Or you give your keys to a valet only to find a brand new dent in your car later. It is so frustrating, isn't it? You're just standing there thinking, now what? The good news is, the law actually has a whole framework set up for this exact kind of problem.
So, the fancy legal word for this whole situation? It's called a bailment. I know, it sounds a little intimidating, but it's actually super simple. All it means is that you temporarily give your property to someone else for a specific purpose. You know, like getting something cleaned or repaired or even just stored. The funny thing is, you've probably done this hundreds of times and never even knew it had a name.
At its core, a bailment is really all about trust, right? You're trusting that person to look after your things. But what happens when that trust is broken? When your stuff gets lost or damaged or they just don't give it back? Well, that's when things get serious, and we have to start talking about the legal side of things.
And here's the most important thing I want you to take away today. If your property gets mishandled, the law is on your side. You are the innocent party. This isn't just about feeling angry or upset. It means you have actual legal rights. You have options to make this right. You are absolutely not powerless here.
Okay, so what are these options we're talking about? Well, the legal system is kind of cool here. It doesn't just give you one single road to go down. Instead, it offers 3 different avenues, 3 distinct legal paths you can take to try and sort this whole mess out.
Yep, you heard that right. 3. Not 1, not 2, but 3 separate paths. And each one gives you a slightly different way to build your case, all depending on, the exact details of what went wrong.
So, what are they? Let's lay them out. First up, you can go after them for a breach of bailment duties. Basically, they had one job and they didn't do it. Second, there's tort law. And third, if you had a contract, you can sue for a breach of contract. Now let's unpack what each of these really means.
This is a really key distinction. That third path we mentioned, contract law, well, that one's only on the table if your bailment was based on a contract. Think about renting a storage unit. You signed a paper, right? That's a contractual bailment. But what if it's non-contractual? Like, say you find someone's lost wallet. You're holding it for them, but there's no agreement, no contract. So in that case, you can't sue for breach of contract.
All right, let's zoom in on that second path, tort law. Again, tort is just a legal speak for a civil wrong. Someone did something wrong that caused you some kind of harm. For a messed up bailment, this could mean suing for negligence. They were just careless with your stuff. Or it could be something more serious, like conversion or détenu, which are fancy terms for them basically stealing or refusing to return your property.
So we've got our 3 paths, but where do they actually go? What's the destination? If you go down one of these roads and you win your case, what do you actually get? The legal word for this is a remedy, and there are really 2 main types that you need to know about.
And this, right here, is the big takeaway, the most important point. It doesn't matter which of those 3 paths you take, bailment, tort, or contract. The source material is super clear on this. The normal, standard, everyday remedy is damages.
So what do we mean by that? Well, damages is just a legal term for money. Cold, hard cash to compensate you for your loss. That's the most common one. The other type, which is way more rare, is called injunctive relief. That's when a court actually orders someone to do something, or more likely to stop doing something.
And the key thing to get here is that injunctive relief is absolutely the exception, not the rule. A court is only going to order that in very specific, appropriate cases. Like, imagine trying to stop someone from destroying a priceless, one-of-a-kind painting. For our everyday situations, like that ruined suit or the dented car, you should be thinking about and expecting monetary damages.
Wow, okay, that was a lot of info pretty fast, right? So let's just pause for a second, take a breath, and recap the most important things to remember if you ever find yourself in this kind of sticky situation. Okay, here's what to lock in. Number 1, bailment is just that simple act of trusting someone with your stuff. Number 2, if that trust gets broken, you are not out of luck. You've got 3 potential legal paths to go down. Number 3, those paths are bailment law, tort law, and maybe even contract law. And finally, the big one to remember, for pretty much all of these, the end game, the most common result is getting paid money, what the law calls damages.
So there you have it.
You've basically got a legal map now for what to do when someone messes up with your property. It gives you a way to think about your next steps, which leaves us with one final thought. Now that you know these paths are there, which one do you think you'd take?